What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Decoded. It is February 27th, 2024, 4:03 in the afternoon. Market is closed. The title of this video is Don't Sleep In, because the best move of the day really came at the open, and most of us caught it. In fact, so many of us caught it that after that trade, our win-to-loss ratio was 90%. And the people who lost, which at the time was only 3 out of a whole bunch, were people who played calls because they felt chasing a big green candle in pre-market was the wise thing to do. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch charts, and we're going to talk about what we saw, why we saw what we saw, and why we took the trade that we took, and a couple of other ones that we spotted in advance as well. For me, I only took one trade today. It was the put scenario, and we're not going to go over the lines, guys. I drew all these lines. We had a live charting session this morning. And so most of the people today got to see exactly where these lines come from, how accurate they are, and how we can use them to make money. Now, what's crazy about today is I was 1 penny off on the low of day and 1 penny off on the high of day with these lines, which is always fun to see. But let's get back to the beginning. 9:25 every single morning, we do a call put scenario, which basically is me telling people where I would be interested in playing calls and what I would need to see in order to take those calls. Likewise with puts. Okay. You will see one dotted line here. That is our put line scenario. But Jimmy, why isn't there another one? Because I couldn't see a good reason to take calls. As you can see, we opened up very, very close to a line of resistance. We opened up very, very close to our first target high above that pre-market line of resistance. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from the fact that after we got back below those levels, we never managed to get back above them. I don't care what you guys think or how you feel. All I'm doing with you and my community is sharing with them why I respect the chart and not take any trades because of what I hope to happen. Okay, for those of you who live your life based on hope, are you not disappointed more often than you're, winning, or not even trading related? Hopium in general is a dangerous feeling, right? It's one of those situations where we all hope for good things to happen, but because we hope for them to happen, we're more disappointed when they don't happen. Right? I look at the market the same way. I hope that I manage to be in calls when it breaks through these resistances like they don't even exist. But that hopium is probably going to allow me to be disappointed way more often than trusting what is proven to be the truth, right? I look at this and say, oh man, Calls are not interesting to me. Why? Because based on what it has shown me here, there's no reason to take a trade to the upside. And even if we closed above this yellow line here, I have to look over here and say, okay, from that yellow line to 507 is only an 11-cent move. Is that worth my energy? And the answer is no. So calls were not a thing for me, at least aggressively, at the open. So the only play, in my opinion, was to the downside should it present itself. I didn't know if it was going to come down. Nobody knows. But we could look at things that would give us a better idea as to whether it's going to come down or not. Qs very quickly developed a solid resistance right here. It's the reason that many of us stayed into the puts that we took this morning. Then Qs broke and closed below this support. Closed below this support, closed below this support, and went right down to its third and final target that I had at the time on the chart. Okay, I don't know which one of these is going to hold. Now, I will tell you this. I got out of my puts on SPY because Qs made it to this support here. That was the reason I got out. I don't know if it's going to continue to fall. I know the market typically is very happy lately. So I don't have a put bias. I was really happy when we finally closed below this support on the Qs. I loved all of the wicks on the top. I loved the fact that we had resistance right here. In fact, my plan was if Qs close above that line, I got to get out of these puts. It didn't. We stayed in. Okay. Now, as you guys know, I don't mess with the pink line. Okay. The pink line is yesterday's low of day. It is what it is. I don't never hold through those trades ever. It just, yes, I left some money on the table. I don't care. I don't care. I don't trade through those lines. But anyway, put line is a breach. We're looking for a breach simply because we have price action below that line. Okay. If we had no price action below that line, we'd be waiting for candle closes. Okay. There's a breach here. However, ADD at this time was pushing up. Okay. I wasn't real comfortable jumping in just then. I love the fact that we rejected hard up here. I love the fact that we breached the put line. I love the fact that this candle closed red. I love the fact that this one pushed lower as well. This is the candle I entered in on. And I really love the fact that Qs were struggling to move higher. A good portion of us stayed in this trade simply for this reason. We got very happy because the Qs finally closed below that support, gave us the dump we were hoping for. And as you could see, at 9:38, we had made it all the way down to our pink line and then some. That's where I got out of my trade. But we have a bunch of people in our community who trade line to line. The reason I held through this particular candle right here is because the Qs once again closed below support at 9:36 right here. Otherwise, I would have taken myself out of my SPY trade. My belief is that if we close below support, the move should go down to the next support. So if I'm in a trade that hasn't yet made it to a line or is on a line, and the other thing I look for is below support, I'm going to give it a try. Reminded everybody to move their stops down if they insisted on holding this trade longer. And that's all you have to do. Same thing when we got to the pink line. Guys, I'm getting out of my trade now. You do what you want. If you insist on holding through the pink line, please slide your stops down so you don't give up too much of your profit. So there are people that made more than the 41% that I made on that trade because they held longer. It's not my thing. All right. That's the only trade I took today. It's the only trade I took today. Got in relatively aggressively. Some folks got in way more aggressively than me on the opening candle because we breached that line. Good for them. Some folks got out at this line here. Some folks got out at the pink line. Some folks got out here. And I'm sure some folks didn't get out at all because it had to keep falling forever. Right? But we also had people look at this green candle here and look at this one push up just before open thinking, oh, I'm buying calls. Guys, just trust the chart. It's going to serve you better over time than hoping that the chart is wrong. Okay? With that said, that was our opening trade. It was a one and done for a whole bunch of us, including myself. Then we started to pull back. Recognizing there's a whole bunch of wicks on the tops of these candles, we drew a flag line. Guys, this might turn into a flag play. All you got to do is wait for a candle close below that green line. We'd like to see it get back to the start of the flag, but one of my personal rules is if I'm going to play a flag and there happens to be a line of support resistance between where I enter and between where the flag starts, I'd take myself out of the trade. You're witnessing why I have that rule. Okay? We get down to this line. I use my support resistance lines for everything that I do. Everything. It's the reason I get into trades. It's the reason I get out of trades. So I can't very well on flag play say, well, I'm going to ignore the fact that those lines exist because, well, this one might continue down. I don't play that game. Okay. Now, again, I had nothing to gain by talking about this trade. I didn't take this trade. We held support. We took out resistance levels on the way. We didn't really have any lower highs on the way down here, but we got through our double line here, ran right back up to resistance up here. If you want to look at this, or, we couldn't move higher. Then we got into a pretty choppy zone where the pink line was holding pretty good as support. And we had a nice resistance up here where we had a split candle. Okay. This resistance up here became the reason for our next trade. Jimmy, would you trade this channel? I said, yeah, you could trade the channel. The problem is it's kind of loose. So we need to define areas that we should look to enter and look to exit. So we look for a spot that has the most amount of touches, which is right around this level here. Okay, right in here, we've got wicks, bodies, all kinds of shit here. That's proving to be resistance, 506.30. Guys, if you're interested in buying puts, please don't do it here on this line. Don't do it, down here. Wait for a pullback. Wait for a pullback to an area so we can have a tighter stop loss. Okay, the stop would have been candle closes above this double top right here. Okay, so you had the potential to get in right around 506.28 if you're being conservative with a stop loss at a candle close above 506.33. That's a 5-cent move. I mean, you don't have to risk a lot to try to trade what the chart is showing you. Okay, great. We get in here, it pushes down, it pushes down. Where would I get out? The pink line. I don't like the pink line. We hit the pink line, we reject up, put in a lower high, and continue to trend down from there. That was a nice clean trade right there for anybody who trusted levels. That was it. After that, we chopped around a little bit more, and it was right around 12:33, right around here, 35. I decided I was going to take my lunch break. And of course, SPY goes ahead and makes a move because I went on lunch. That's what she does. She's dirty girl like that. And we made it right down to our third and final target on the day. Again, I wasn't here. I didn't get back until 1:30-ish, somewhere around in here. But still, nothing to trade. Super tight. Contracts weren't moving a whole bunch. Guys, we got a whole bunch of important reports coming out the rest of this week. I think the market between yesterday and today is kind of in a holding pattern. We got a lot of Fed speakers. There's a lot is going to happen over the next 3 days. So just be prepared. If you didn't take any trades today because you didn't feel good about the chart, the rest of this week should provide you some really good potential movement. Okay. However, the last trade of the day that I think we talked about was the potential for calls. We're coming off of an uptrend. We had closed above the pink line resistance here at 2 o'clock. Qs at this time had just closed above a resistance line as well, which was right here. Okay, so the resistance we were waiting to break was from this double top all the way over here. That happened at 2 o'clock. I had told everybody if we close above that, I expect Qs to run up to at least 436.84. And if it gets through that, we should head to the blue line. Now, I don't know if it's going to stop at 436.84. It tried to for a second, pushed right through it and kept going up. Okay, so that got you in here. Okay, we held support basically just right about where the entry candle was. We made it to the next line. We closed above that line. We'd be looking for resistance the next one up. If we did, we got it. Now, one of our members ended up taking calls here. And I wanted to explain to him, because I know many of you might have the same question. Well, Jimmy, we closed above resistance here. How come you wouldn't buy calls here? And that's a great question. And I'm going to tell you like I told this gentleman, because everything else looked right. We were trending up. We closed above resistance here on SPY, and at 233, Qs had just closed above resistance as well. Right here, it was sitting above resistance, turned support. There was room for it to move up from there. But the one caveat that he missed or ignored was looking left. I'm leaving my mouse where we rejected. See that? Right here? The last time we attempted to move up above this line, early in the morning, we know we tried to. We had selling. Buyers tried to push it up. Sellers came in, smacked it down. You can't ignore resistance levels. Okay? Assume that whatever happened the last time we were there is potentially going to happen again. Yes, I say assume. Side with the facts, not with your hopes. Okay? So at this double top, at 506.54, 53, whatever you want to call it, 54, we get above the blue line again, right at 506.54. Reject, 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 reject. Does it mean it can't eventually push through? Of course it doesn't. And the reason that this matters is not for people who are trying to play puts. I wouldn't play puts in an uptrend, but for people who might be holding onto your calls. Just know that the end of the run is coming near or potentially coming near. How do we know? Because SPY told us that the last time we were up there. Now, you could have held your calls from down here, waited through this pullback, hoped to get through it here, waited through this pullback, hoped to get through, and eventually you would have got paid. But let me tell you what theta and pullbacks this late in the day does to your position. You probably wouldn't have been back to even until you got back above this line or up in here if you held through these pullbacks. Okay, I don't trade this late in the day for that reason. It's catastrophic. All right, but ultimately we broke above that resistance. Okay, we turned it into support. It's clear as day. That same 54, 53 area, broke it, turned it into support. Tried to make it up to the next resistance high, which we did, as a matter of fact. Next resistance high on there is either going to be this guy, a split candle, or this double top from pre-market. So if we go back over to 74, see where all of these candles right here are stopping? Ultimately breaking that, making it to the next resistance. Guys, we're not going to talk about support resistance. It's a thing. It works well. If you learn to trust the chart instead of what it is you want to happen, you might be able to protect yourself a little bit more. You might feel a little bit better about what trades you're getting into and why. Again, I robbed myself of a bunch of profits by respecting the lines, okay? In this case, if I would have got in because we closed below this line and got out here, it continued to move down. Now, the reason I stayed in that trade, as I openly shared while I was in it, was because Qs had just closed below support. ADD at this time, I think, started dropping by now. Let's see, 936. I think ADD had finally turned around by then. Yeah, so ADD was already printing red. This is ADD. So ADD had a nice push to the upside. Big wicks on top, nice fall down, okay? So everything that I wanted to see for me to be comfortable in that trade had happened. NVIDIA, look at that. Take a look at the NVIDIA chart and the Qs chart, guys, at the open. Look at that. Once this happened, we were already in our puts. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful sight to see. Okay? So that is why I held on to that opening trade instead of line to line. With that said, that was pretty much it. This chart wasn't very pleasant for most. Now, our win to loss ratio in the community right now is extremely good. As I told you before, after that trade, we had a 90% community win rate. Now I think it's closer to 72%, which is still amazing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Expect the rest of the week to be very volatile. I think that that's going to happen, and we'll see how it goes. I appreciate you guys watching. And if you got any useful information in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I'm sorry for not making a video yesterday. I wasn't feeling good at all, and I got some really sad news that kind of just kind of put quite the hindering in my day, and we lost one of our community members, and it's heartbreaking. And I mean, lost them, not they left the community. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good day. But anyway, please like, share, and subscribe, guys. If you'd like to join our Discord community, there's a link down below. Take advantage of the free week, okay? We have 2 different live trading rooms. We talk through the charts all day long. We explain what we see. We explain what we think about the charts, price action, all these things. 2 completely different strategies. We'd love to have you. Take advantage of it. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay. It costs you nothing. It's free for 7 days. Okay? If you like what you get, please consider becoming a member. We are getting close to where I do the annual discount for the first time this year. Will be at the end of March. So keep that in mind as well. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you all had a fantastic day. I look forward till tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Till then, I love you guys. See you.